Hey guys! Welcome to Curious Things. Next year, in 2025, marks 80 years since the end of the Second World War. To remember this crucial period in history, we have prepared a special with a summary of the main battles and episodes that defined the conflict. But let's not stop there. We've discovered some incredible facts about the war that are rarely mentioned in history books, and we're excited to share them with you. Get ready to discover the most surprising and little-known aspects of the Second World War. Let's start. The Allies forgot breakfast on D-Day. The invasion of Normandy, also known as D-Day, occurred on June 6, 1944, and was one of the most critical moments of World War II. It was a massive military operation meticulously planned by the Allies to open a new front in Western Europe and hasten the defeat of Nazi Germany. However, a detail often forgotten or rarely mentioned is that many Allied soldiers did not have breakfast on the day of the landing, leading to significant consequences. On the night before D-Day, Allied soldiers were gathered at various departure points, ready to embark on the ships and planes that would take them to the beaches of Normandy. The atmosphere was filled with extreme tension and anxiety. Many soldiers spent the night awake, writing farewell letters, praying, or trying to cope with the fear of what lay ahead. The operation involved a complex combination of naval, air, and land forces from several nations, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and other Allied countries. Due to the high tension and nervousness, many soldiers simply forgot or were unable to eat before embarking. The anxiety for the imminent mission was overwhelming. They were acutely aware of the enormous risks and high probabilities of injury or death. As a result, eating, a basic necessity for any intense physical operation, was neglected. The lack of adequate food had immediate and negative impacts on the soldiers' performance. Fainting and drops in blood pressure were common, weakening the troops in the first few hours of the landing. These symptoms of physical weakness compromised the efficiency of some battalions, as soldiers who fainted or became debilitated could not carry out their tasks. In an operation where speed, strength, and coordination were crucial, the absence of breakfast became a significant problem. This episode underscores the importance of proper nutrition in military operations. Soldiers need energy to endure the physical and mental stress of combat. The failure to ensure that all soldiers had access to a meal before such a critical operation might seem like a minor detail, but it had real consequences on the troops' performance. The D-Day experience served as an important lesson for future military operations. Preparing troops is not limited to training and strategic planning but also involves ensuring that their basic needs, such as food and hydration, are met to maintain strength and morale. The forgotten breakfast on D-Day is a reminder of how anxiety and nervousness can affect even the most basic aspects of military preparation. Although the operation was successful and significantly contributed to the Allied victory in World War II, these details reveal the complexity and fragility of wartime operations. The stories of the soldiers who participated in D-Day continue to inspire and teach valuable lessons about preparation and resilience. The Phantom Soldier. Hiro Onoda, an intelligence officer in the Imperial Japanese Army, continued to fight for 29 years after the end of World War II, refusing to believe that the conflict had concluded. He finally surrendered in 1974 after his former commander personally came to the location to order him to cease his resistance. Hiro Onoda was deployed to Lubang Island in the Philippines in December 1944, with orders to conduct guerrilla warfare and sabotage activities against the Allies. As the war neared its end in August 1945, most Japanese troops either surrendered or were captured, but Onoda and a few of his comrades chose to hide in the island's dense jungles, adhering strictly to their original orders. Over the years, Onoda and his group evaded search parties and engaged in skirmishes with local police and island residents, believing them to be enemy forces. They survived on a diet of bananas, coconuts, and occasionally stolen livestock, maintaining a disciplined routine of military vigilance and sabotage missions. Despite numerous efforts to inform them of the war's end, including leaflets dropped from planes and loudspeaker announcements, Onoda dismissed them as enemy propaganda. Gradually, Onoda's comrades either surrendered or perished, leaving him alone by the early 1970s. His unwavering dedication to his mission became a legend in Japan and around the world, symbolizing extreme loyalty and endurance. Onoda's story took a dramatic turn when Norio Suzuki, a Japanese student and adventurer, set out to find him in 1974. Suzuki succeeded and managed to convince Onoda that the war had indeed ended, but Onoda still insisted on receiving official orders from a superior officer. In March 1974, Onoda's former commanding officer, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, traveled to Lubang Island to formally relieve him of his duties. Onoda, wearing his tattered uniform and carrying his still operational rifle, saluted and officially surrendered, ending his nearly 3-decade-long personal war. Onoda's return to Japan was met with a mixture of admiration and controversy. While some hailed him as a hero for his unwavering dedication, others questioned the consequences of his prolonged resistance, which had led to the deaths of several islanders. Nevertheless, Onoda's story remains a powerful testament to the complexities of war and the lengths to which individuals will go in the name of duty. His remarkable tale of persistence and loyalty is a reminder of the enduring human spirit and the sometimes tragic consequences of unwavering commitment to a cause. The Battle of Los Angeles. In February 1942, an air raid alarm in Los Angeles caused widespread panic. Anti-aircraft defenses opened fire on what was believed to be a Japanese attack, but in the end, there were no enemies in the sky. This episode remains shrouded in mystery and speculation. The event, often referred to as the Battle of Los Angeles, occurred during the early hours of February 25, 1942, just a few months after the attack on Pearl Harbor. The American West Coast was on high alert, fearing further attacks from the Japanese military. On the night of the incident, a radar operator spotted an unidentified object 120 miles west of Los Angeles, which led to a citywide blackout and a full-scale alert. Shortly after, the military began receiving reports of enemy aircraft in the sky. Sirens blared, and the city's anti-aircraft artillery went into action. Searchlights scanned the skies, and for several hours, the anti-aircraft batteries fired thousands of rounds, lighting up the night with tracer bullets and explosions. Despite the intense barrage, no enemy planes were shot down, and no bombs were dropped. As dawn broke, the all-clear signal was given, and the city began to assess the damage. Several buildings and vehicles had been hit by falling shrapnel, and 5 civilians died as a result of the chaos, 3 from traffic accidents during the blackout and 2 from heart attacks induced by the stress of the event. However, no evidence of enemy aircraft or wreckage was found. The lack of tangible evidence led to widespread speculation about what had actually occurred that night. Theories ranged from a false alarm triggered by weather balloons or commercial aircraft to more exotic explanations involving UFOs. The U.S. military initially attributed the incident to a case of war nerves, suggesting that a combination of jittery nerves and miscommunication led to the barrage. Further fueling the mystery, some reports suggested that the radar readings and sightings might have been caused by a weather balloon released to check atmospheric conditions, which inadvertently triggered the defensive response. The incident was also seized upon by conspiracy theorists, who speculated about government cover-ups and extraterrestrial involvement. Despite numerous investigations and analyses over the years, the true cause of the Battle of Los Angeles remains unresolved. The episode has become a part of American wartime folklore, symbolizing the fear and uncertainty that gripped the nation during World War II. It serves as a reminder of the psychological toll of war and the potential for mass hysteria in times of crisis. Project Habakuk. The Allies developed a plan called Project Habakuk, which proposed the construction of giant aircraft carriers made from pykrete, a mixture of ice and sawdust, to be used against German submarines. Although initial tests were promising, the project was eventually abandoned due to its complexity and cost. Project Habakuk was conceived during World War II by Geoffrey Pike, an innovative thinker who worked for the British Combined Operations Headquarters. The idea was born out of the desperate need to combat the threat posed by German U-boats in the Atlantic. Conventional aircraft carriers were vulnerable and limited in number, prompting the search for an alternative that could provide air cover over vast ocean areas. Pykrete, the material proposed for these massive carriers, was a mixture of approximately 14% sawdust or wood pulp and 86% water. When frozen, pykrete proved to be incredibly strong and resistant to melting, making it an ideal candidate for constructing large, durable structures in cold environments. Pykrete's remarkable properties meant that it could absorb impacts without shattering, and it melted at a much slower rate than pure ice. The concept envisioned creating floating airstrips that could be stationed in the mid-Atlantic, providing a base for anti-submarine aircraft to patrol areas far beyond the range of land-based planes. These colossal structures would be nearly impervious to torpedoes and gunfire, as the pykrete would simply absorb the energy of impacts. In 1943, a prototype was constructed on Patricia Lake in Alberta, Canada. This small-scale model was 60 feet long and demonstrated the viability of using pykrete as a construction material. It confirmed that pykrete had the desired properties, and the prototype remained intact throughout the summer months, further proving its durability. Despite the initial success, several factors led to the project's eventual abandonment. Firstly, the construction of a full-sized Habakuk carrier would require vast amounts of resources, including refrigeration equipment to keep the structure frozen, even in cold climates. Secondly, the logistics of building and maintaining such enormous vessels in the middle of the ocean presented significant engineering and operational challenges. Lastly, as the war progressed, advancements in conventional anti-submarine warfare techniques and the increased production of traditional aircraft carriers reduced the urgency of developing an alternative solution. The estimated cost and complexity of Project Habakuk ultimately outweighed its potential benefits. By late 1943, the project was shelved in favor of more practical and immediate solutions to the U-boat threat. However, Project Habakuk remains a fascinating example of wartime ingenuity and the lengths to which the Allies were willing to go to secure victory. Though never realized, the ambitious nature of Project Habakuk highlights the innovative spirit that characterized much of the technological and strategic thinking during World War II. It serves as a reminder of the creative problem-solving approaches that emerge in times of great necessity and the enduring quest for unconventional solutions in warfare. The worst non-nuclear explosion. The Bombay explosion on April 14, 1944, was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history. The ship SS Fort Stikine, loaded with cotton, gold, and ammunition, caught fire and exploded in the port of Mumbai, resulting in over 800 deaths and massive damage to the city. SS Fort Stikine was a British cargo ship docked in the bustling Victoria Dock of Bombay, now Mumbai. On the fateful day, it was carrying a diverse and dangerous cargo, around 1,400 tons of explosives, including shells, torpedoes, mines, and bombs, as well as 8,700 bales of cotton and approximately 31 tons of gold bullion. The ship's cargo hold was a volatile mix, and the extreme heat and flammable materials created a ticking time bomb. The disaster began in the afternoon when a fire broke out on the ship. Despite efforts by the crew and dock workers to control the blaze, it quickly grew out of control. Firefighting teams struggled to combat the intense heat and thick smoke. Realizing the imminent danger, the port authorities attempted to evacuate the area, but time was running out. At around 4:06 p.m., the SS Fort Stikine exploded with a force that shattered windows up to 12 kilometers away. The initial explosion was so powerful that it sent debris soaring high into the air, and a second explosion followed shortly after, further devastating the port and surrounding areas. The blasts were heard and felt across the city, causing widespread panic and chaos. The explosion unleashed a catastrophic chain reaction. Ships moored nearby were damaged or destroyed, and fires spread rapidly through the docks and neighboring districts. The port, a vital hub for wartime logistics and supplies, was left in ruins. The dense smoke and fires continued to burn for days, complicating rescue and recovery efforts. The human toll was staggering. Over 800 people lost their lives, including dock workers, firefighters, and civilians caught in the blast. Thousands more were injured, and countless others were left homeless as the fires ravaged residential areas. The economic impact was also severe, with significant losses of goods, infrastructure, and ships. In the aftermath, the city of Bombay faced a monumental task of recovery. Emergency services, along with the military and volunteers, worked tirelessly to extinguish the fires, rescue survivors, and clear the wreckage. The explosion highlighted the dangers of handling volatile cargo and led to changes in port safety regulations and emergency response procedures. The Bombay explosion of 1944 remains one of the deadliest and most devastating non-nuclear explosions in history. It serves as a somber reminder of the catastrophic potential of industrial and military accidents, particularly in densely populated urban areas. The tragic event is remembered for its immense human cost and the resilience of the people of Mumbai in the face of such overwhelming destruction. Hey soldier, are you enjoying the stories? So don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's keep going. Hashtag the desert rats and the creation of tea bags. During the Western Desert Campaign of World War II, British soldiers known as the desert rats faced significant difficulties in preparing tea due to the harsh conditions. To solve this problem, they began using cloth bags to brew their tea, a precursor to the modern tea bag. The Desert Rats, officially the 7th Armored Division, were renowned for their role in the North African desert battles from 1940 to 1943. The unforgiving environment posed numerous challenges, including extreme heat, sandstorms, and a constant scarcity of water. For the British soldiers, tea was more than just a beverage, it was a comforting ritual and a morale booster amidst the rigors of desert warfare. Traditional tea preparation, which involved loose leaves and boiling water, proved cumbersome under these conditions. The soldiers had limited access to clean water and suitable brewing equipment, and the pervasive sand made it difficult to keep anything clean. Moreover, the necessity to move quickly often meant that any method of making tea needed to be quick and efficient. In response to these challenges, the resourceful desert rats began improvising. They used small, porous cloth bags to hold the tea leaves, allowing them to brew tea more easily in their canteens or mess tins. These makeshift tea bags prevented the leaves from scattering and simplified the brewing process. Soldiers could simply dunk the cloth bags into boiling water, let it steep, and then remove the bags, leaving behind a relatively clean and grit-free cup of tea. This innovation was not only practical but also helped maintain a sense of normalcy and comfort for the troops. The ability to enjoy a familiar cup of tea, even in the midst of a desolate and hostile environment, provided a significant psychological boost. It also saved time and resources, as the soldiers did not need to strain the tea or deal with loose leaves in their drinks. The concept of the tea bag, while not entirely new, gained significant practical application and popularity thanks to the desert rats. Their use of cloth bags for tea was a simple yet effective solution that addressed a specific need in wartime conditions. After the war, the idea continued to evolve and eventually led to the commercial development of the modern tea bag. In the post-war years, the convenience and efficiency of tea bags were recognized by tea companies, leading to the widespread adoption and refinement of the design. The use of paper instead of cloth and the mass production of tea bags revolutionized the way tea was consumed, making it quicker and more accessible for people everywhere. The story of the desert rats and their innovative approach to making tea is a testament to human ingenuity in the face of adversity. It highlights how a simple solution to a practical problem can have a lasting impact, transforming an essential part of daily life and creating a legacy that endures long after the conflict has ended. The Ghost Army. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops of the United States, known as the Ghost Army, was a unit dedicated to deceiving the enemy with psychological warfare tactics. Using inflatable tanks, fake battle sounds, and other tricks, they successfully diverted German attention and resources away from real battlefronts. Formed in 1944, the Ghost Army consisted of approximately 1,100 soldiers with a unique mission: to mislead and confuse the German military. This highly secretive unit was composed of artists, actors, sound technicians, and other creative individuals recruited for their skills in illusion and deception. Their operations were pivotal in several key campaigns in the European theater of World War II. The Ghost Army's most famous tool was its arsenal of inflatable military equipment. They used life-sized rubber tanks, artillery, jeeps, and even aircraft to create the illusion of formidable forces where none existed. These inflatable decoys were lightweight and could be quickly deployed, repositioned, and hidden as needed. When observed from a distance or through reconnaissance, these mock-ups appeared convincingly real, tricking enemy forces into believing they faced significant opposition. In addition to visual deceptions, the Ghost Army employed auditory and radio subterfuge. They used large speakers to broadcast pre-recorded sounds of troop movements, construction, and battle noises, creating the illusion of bustling military activity. The unit's radio operators also mimicked the communication patterns and chatter of genuine units, further convincing enemy eavesdroppers of their presence. The effectiveness of the Ghost Army's deceptions was exemplified during Operation Fortitude, part of the broader strategy to mislead the Germans about the true landing site of the D-Day invasion. The Ghost Army created the illusion of a massive buildup of Allied forces in the Pas-de-Calais area, far from the actual landing beaches in Normandy. This ruse helped to keep German defenses spread thin and contributed to the success of the Normandy invasion. Throughout the war, the Ghost Army conducted more than 20 deception operations, often operating close to the front lines. They created fake divisions, simulated river crossings, and orchestrated elaborate movements to mislead the enemy. Their efforts diverted German troops and resources, reducing pressure on real Allied operations and saving countless lives. The Ghost Army's operations remained classified for decades after the war, and it wasn't until the 1980s that their story began to emerge. Their work demonstrated the power of psychological warfare and the importance of deception in military strategy. By using creativity and innovation, the Ghost Army played a crucial role in the Allied victory in Europe. Today, the legacy of the Ghost Army serves as a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of those who fought in World War II. Their ability to use art, sound, and illusion to influence the course of the war highlights the diverse talents and unconventional tactics that can contribute to military success. The use of animals in war. In addition to the famous messenger dogs and carrier pigeons, there were various attempts to utilize animals in combat situations. For example, the United States attempted to train bats to carry small incendiary bombs and release them over Japanese cities. The project, known as Project X-Ray, was abandoned after several setbacks. During World War II, military strategists explored innovative ways to gain tactical advantages, and one such idea involved harnessing the unique abilities of animals for military purposes. Among these experiments was Project X-ray, a top-secret initiative undertaken by the United States military in 1942. The concept behind Project X-ray was to train bats as carriers for incendiary devices. Bats were chosen for their natural ability to roost in dark, secluded areas, such as caves and attics, making them potentially effective agents for covert attacks on enemy targets. The plan involved attaching small napalm bombs or similar incendiary devices to bats, which would then be released from aircraft over Japanese cities. The hope was that the bats would seek shelter in the eaves and attics of buildings, where they would ignite the bombs, causing widespread fires and chaos. The military believed that such attacks could disrupt Japanese industry and morale, much like the incendiary bombing campaigns carried out by conventional aircraft. To train the bats, scientists devised methods for attaching the bombs to the bats' bodies and training them to fly to specific targets. However, the project faced numerous challenges and setbacks from the outset. Bats proved difficult to handle and train, and the logistics of releasing them from aircraft in large numbers presented logistical challenges. Furthermore, the timeline for developing the technology and training the bats was outpaced by the urgency of the war effort. As other military strategies, such as the development of atomic weapons and conventional bombing raids, gained prominence, interest in Project X-ray waned. In 1944, the project was officially cancelled, and efforts were redirected to more practical and proven methods of warfare. Although Project X-ray ultimately failed to materialize into a viable weapon system, it remains a curious footnote in the history of military innovation. The project highlighted the lengths to which military planners were willing to go in their quest for unconventional solutions to wartime challenges. While the idea of using animals in combat may seem outlandish today, it reflects the resourcefulness and creativity of those tasked with confronting the realities of war. Despite its failure, Project X-ray serves as a reminder of the complex ethical and practical considerations involved in the use of animals in warfare. While animals have been used in various capacities throughout history, their involvement in combat raises important questions about the morality and effectiveness of such practices. Blood banks. World War II witnessed the development of the first mobile blood banks, an innovation that saved countless lives. Dr. Charles Drew, an African-American physician, pioneered techniques for preserving blood plasma, which was crucial for the treatment of combat injuries. As the war raged on, the demand for blood transfusions to treat wounded soldiers soared. However, transporting whole blood presented logistical challenges, as it had a limited shelf life and required careful storage and handling. To address this issue, mobile blood collection units, or blood banks, were established to collect, process, and store blood donations closer to the front lines. Dr. Charles Drew, a renowned surgeon and educator, played a pivotal role in revolutionizing blood banking during World War II. Prior to the war, Drew had conducted groundbreaking research on blood transfusions and blood preservation techniques. His work laid the foundation for the establishment of large-scale blood banking systems. One of Drew's most significant contributions was his development of techniques for separating and preserving blood plasma. Plasma, the liquid portion of blood, contains essential proteins and clotting factors necessary for treating shock and hemorrhage. By separating plasma from whole blood and freeze-drying it into powder form, Drew made it possible to store and transport blood products more efficiently. Under Drew's leadership, mobile blood collection units were deployed to military bases and battlefields, where they collected blood from volunteer donors. The collected blood was processed to extract plasma, which was then freeze-dried and packaged for storage and transportation. These blood products could be quickly deployed to field hospitals and aid stations, where they were used to treat wounded soldiers on the front lines. The establishment of mobile blood banks and the use of preserved plasma revolutionized battlefield medicine during World War II. For the first time, frontline medical personnel had access to a readily available supply of life-saving blood products, dramatically reducing mortality rates among wounded soldiers. Despite his groundbreaking contributions to blood banking, Drew faced racial discrimination within the military and medical establishment. As an African American, he was barred from donating blood himself and was subjected to segregation policies that limited his opportunities for advancement. Despite these challenges, Drew's work saved countless lives and laid the groundwork for the modern blood banking system. In recognition of his contributions, Dr. Charles Drew is remembered as a pioneer in the field of blood banking and transfusion medicine. His legacy serves as a reminder of the importance of diversity and inclusion in scientific research and medical practice, as well as the critical role of innovation in advancing healthcare during times of crisis. The Great Ghost March of Norway. During the German occupation of Norway, the Nazis utilized Soviet prisoners of war to construct the Blood Road, a military highway. Many of these prisoners were subjected to extreme cruelty, and the march to the construction site under terrible conditions became known as the Great Ghost March. In the harsh winters of Nazi-occupied Norway, the German military sought to improve transportation infrastructure to support their war efforts. To achieve this, they employed forced labor, including Soviet prisoners of war captured during the early stages of Operation Barbarossa. The prisoners were transported to remote areas of Norway, where they were forced to construct the strategically significant Blood Road, Blodveien. This military highway, stretching through the rugged terrain of northern Norway, was vital for transporting troops, equipment, and supplies to German forces stationed in the region. The conditions endured by the Soviet prisoners during the construction of the Blood Road were appalling. They were subjected to brutal treatment, inadequate shelter, and meager rations. Many prisoners suffered from malnutrition, disease, and exposure to the harsh Arctic climate. The journey to the construction site, known as the Great Ghost March, was a grueling ordeal for the prisoners. Forced to march long distances through snow-covered landscapes, often without proper clothing or footwear, they faced exhaustion, frostbite, and death. The march became known as the Great Ghost March due to the haunting image of emaciated prisoners trudging through the snow, their spirits broken by the cruelty of their captors. Despite the hardships they endured, the Soviet prisoners of war persevered, driven by a will to survive and a determination to resist their oppressors. Their labor contributed to the construction of the Blood Road, but the human cost was immense. The legacy of the Great Ghost March serves as a reminder of the atrocities committed during World War II and the resilience of those who endured unimaginable suffering. It also underscores the importance of remembering and honoring the victims of war and bearing witness to their experiences, ensuring that such horrors are never forgotten. The heroic mission of Operation Gunnerside. In a daring and audacious mission during World War II, a small group of Norwegian commandos undertook Operation Gunnerside, successfully sabotaging a Nazi-controlled heavy water plant in Telemark, Norway. This operation not only thwarted German efforts to produce nuclear weapons but also exemplified the bravery and resourcefulness of the Allied forces. In 1943, the Allies recognized the strategic importance of depriving the Germans of control over the heavy water production facility in Telemark. Heavy water, an essential ingredient in the production of plutonium, was being manufactured at the plant and could potentially fuel the Nazi nuclear weapons program. The first attempt to sabotage the plant involved sending 30 British commandos, but the mission ended in tragedy when they were discovered and killed by the Gestapo. The failure of this initial operation heightened German defenses and made future attempts to infiltrate the plant even more challenging. Undeterred by the risks, a team of 11 Norwegian resistance fighters, trained by the British Special Operations Executive, SOE, volunteered for a second mission to destroy the plant. Led by Joachim Ronneberg, these courageous individuals embarked on a perilous journey to penetrate the heavily guarded facility. The German defenses seemed impenetrable, with mines, armed guards, and a bridge over a 220-meter gorge serving as the only access point to the plant. However, the Norwegian commandos devised a daring plan. They would scale the steep gorge under the cover of darkness and infiltrate the plant undetected. Under the cover of darkness on February 27, 1943, the commandos silently climbed the gorge and bypassed the heavily guarded bridge. Once inside the plant, they planted explosives, effectively sabotaging the heavy water production process. Their actions not only destroyed the facility but also sank the ferry used by the Germans to transport the existing stockpile of heavy water. The success of Operation Gunnerside dealt a significant blow to the German nuclear program and boosted Allied morale. The bravery and ingenuity of the Norwegian commandos, who risked their lives to sabotage the enemy's war machine, earned them well-deserved recognition and medals for their heroism. The legacy of Operation Gunnerside endures as a testament to the courage and sacrifice of those who fought against tyranny during World War II. Their actions, though undertaken by a small group, had far-reaching consequences, demonstrating the power of determination and teamwork in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. The Japanese Death Ray Project. In an intriguing chapter of World War II history, the Japanese government embarked on a project inspired by Nikola Tesla's concept of a death ray. While Tesla himself claimed to have created such a weapon in 1934, its existence was never proven. However, this didn't deter the Japanese from attempting to develop their own version. Under the codename Project Power, the Japanese government allocated 1 million yen to construct a weapon based on Tesla's purported invention. The goal was to create a ray capable of killing targets from a distance, potentially providing a devastating advantage on the battlefield. The project resulted in the construction of a prototype device, consisting of a massive mirror with a diameter of 22 meters. The concept was to focus sunlight onto a target, generating intense heat that could prove fatal. However, the practicality of such a weapon proved challenging. One major obstacle was the need for the target to remain perfectly still for an extended period, approximately 10 minutes, in order for the beam to be effective. This requirement made the weapon impractical for use on the dynamic and chaotic battlefield, where targets were constantly moving. Additionally, the cumbersome nature of the device, with its large mirror and complex mechanisms, made it difficult to deploy and operate effectively. Its sheer size and lack of mobility further diminished its utility in combat situations. Ultimately, the Japanese Death Ray project never saw practical use on the battlefield. The prototype remained a curious relic of wartime experimentation, its fate shrouded in mystery. It is unclear what became of the device, as no records exist detailing its disposition following the end of World War II. The failed attempt to develop a death ray highlights the ambitious yet often impractical nature of wartime technological endeavors. While inspired by the innovative ideas of visionaries like Nikola Tesla, the realities of warfare and the limitations of technology often pose significant challenges to their implementation. The story of Japan's Death Ray project serves as a reminder of the eclectic and sometimes bizarre pursuits undertaken during times of conflict, as nations sought any possible advantage to gain an edge over their adversaries. Despite its failure, the project remains a curious footnote in the annals of military history, showcasing the intersection of science, imagination, and the exigencies of war. Hitler's ban on biological weapons. Surprisingly, Adolf Hitler, the leader of Nazi Germany, forbade the use of biological weapons by his regime during World War II. In 1943, a Nazi scientist proposed attacking the United States with various human and animal pathogens, including typhus and cholera, as part of a biological warfare plan. While the Nazis possessed the capability to deploy such weapons, Hitler personally opposed the idea. Hitler's aversion to biological weapons stemmed from his own experiences during World War I, where he witnessed the devastating effects of chemical warfare. Despite initial orders prohibiting research into biological weapons, some Nazi scientists continued their studies in secret. When these scientists presented their findings to Hitler, he remained steadfast in his opposition to the use of such weapons. One theory suggests that Hitler's reluctance to employ biological weapons may have been influenced by his memories of the horrors of chemical warfare and his belief that such methods were morally reprehensible. Additionally, Hitler may have been concerned about the potential for retaliation and the unpredictable consequences of deploying biological agents. Ultimately, Hitler's decision to prohibit the use of biological weapons by the Nazis may have spared countless lives and prevented further escalation of the horrors of war. However, it also highlights the complex moral and ethical considerations faced by leaders during times of conflict, as they weigh the strategic advantages of military tactics against the human cost of their implementation. The story of Hitler's ban on biological weapons serves as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of history and the individual decisions that can shape the course of events. Despite the atrocities committed by the Nazi regime, this particular decision stands as a rare instance of restraint in the midst of widespread destruction. The Niihau incident, an unlikely alliance and tragic outcome. In a bizarre and tragic episode during World War II, an American of Japanese descent and a Japanese pilot found themselves embroiled in a dramatic sequence of events on the Hawaiian island of Niihau following the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Shigenori Nishikaichi, a Japanese pilot, crash-landed on Niihau after his aircraft experienced technical difficulties during the attack on Pearl Harbor. Initially treated with hospitality by the islanders, who were unaware of the conflict between the United States and Japan, Nishikaichi soon found himself in a precarious situation. Enter Yoshio Harada, an American citizen of Japanese ancestry who was tasked with translating for Nishikaichi. However, Harada selectively translated the pilot's statements, omitting any mention of the Pearl Harbor attack. This deception helped maintain a sense of calm among the islanders initially. As tensions escalated and news of the attack reached Niihau, Harada's loyalties became increasingly conflicted. He stole weapons and purportedly joined forces with Nishikaichi, attacking the guard assigned to the pilot and freeing him. Together, they held several islanders hostage, demanding the return of supposed secret documents stolen from Nishikaichi's aircraft. In the midst of the standoff, Ben Kanahine and his wife, Ella, intervened, attacking Nishikaichi in an attempt to subdue him. In the struggle that ensued, Nishikaichi was killed, his throat slit with a knife by Ben Kanahine. Following the pilot's death, Harada committed suicide, bringing an end to the tumultuous events on Niihau. The Niihau incident, as it came to be known, underscored the complexities of wartime loyalties and the unpredictable nature of human behavior in times of crisis. It also highlighted the challenges faced by individuals of Japanese descent living in the United States during World War II, as suspicions and tensions ran high in the aftermath of the Pearl Harbor attack. While the incident was relatively isolated in terms of its broader impact on the war, it remains a poignant reminder of the human drama and tragedy that unfolded in the wake of one of the most significant events in modern history. The actions of individuals like Harada and the Kanahines reflect the moral ambiguity and fraught circumstances faced by ordinary people caught up in the maelstrom of war. The United States thought about attacking Japan with bats. During World War II, the United States considered unconventional methods to attack Japan, including the use of bats as weapons. Under a project dubbed Operation Bat, American military strategists explored the possibility of employing bats laden with incendiary bombs to target Japanese cities. The rationale behind Operation Bat was to leverage the nocturnal habits of bats and their ability to access inaccessible locations for humans. Bats would be equipped with small explosive devices and released over Japanese cities during the night. By dawn, the devices would detonate, causing fires in densely populated urban areas. The bats would be transported in refrigerated containers and dropped from aircraft at a certain altitude, where they would awaken and fly towards the target areas. The plan was for the bats to roost in buildings and structures before detonating the bombs, maximizing the damage inflicted on the targets. Despite initial efforts to develop Operation Bat, the project was eventually abandoned due to a host of technical and logistical challenges. The time required to train the bats and ensure their effectiveness, along with the complexity of coordinating nocturnal attacks in urban areas, rendered the project impractical amidst the fast-paced nature of the war. Although Operation Bat was never implemented, its conception reflects the ingenuity and willingness of the American military to explore new approaches to gain an advantage over the enemy. Ultimately, it was the effectiveness of more conventional strategies, such as aerial bombing raids, that prevailed in the conduct of the war against Japan. Operation Mincemeat. During World War II, the British conducted a deception operation known as Operation Mincemeat. They launched a fictitious corps, equipped with fake documents, near the Nazi-occupied Spanish coast. The documents suggested an imminent attack on Greece and Sardinia, diverting the Germans' attention from the true Allied invasion of Sicily. Operation Mincemeat was conceived by British intelligence officers as a means to deceive the Axis powers regarding the Allies' intended target for their next major offensive. The plan involved the use of a deceased individual, whose identity was carefully crafted to create the illusion of a high-ranking British officer carrying sensitive military plans. The body chosen for the operation was that of Glynndwr Michael, a homeless man who had died from ingesting rat poison. His body was dressed in a Royal Marines uniform and given the fictitious identity of Major William Martin. Along with the body, a briefcase containing fake documents outlining plans for an Allied invasion of Greece and Sardinia was attached to his wrist. In April 1943, the submarine HMS Seraph released the body of Major Martin off the coast of Huelva, Spain, a location carefully chosen due to its proximity to Nazi intelligence agents. The body was discovered by a local fisherman and subsequently turned over to Spanish authorities, who passed the documents to the German intelligence services. The deception was successful beyond the British's wildest expectations. The Germans fell for the ruse, diverting significant military resources to reinforce their positions in Greece and Sardinia, believing these areas to be the Allies' primary targets. Meanwhile, the Allies launched their actual invasion of Sicily, codenamed Operation Husky, on July 9, 1943, catching the Axis forces off guard and leading to the swift capture of the island. Operation Mincemeat stands as one of the most audacious and effective deception operations of World War II. It demonstrated the strategic value of misinformation and deception in warfare, showcasing the ingenuity and resourcefulness of British intelligence in outsmarting the enemy and achieving strategic objectives. The operation's success played a crucial role in shaping the outcome of the Mediterranean theater and hastening the Allies' advance towards victory. The Mountainous Thieves Army. In Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia, a resistance group known as the Mountainous Thieves Army operated in the mountains. They sabotaged Nazi efforts by conducting ambushes, sabotage missions, and rescuing Allied prisoners of war. The Mountainous Thieves Army, or Horia Maisai in Czech, was one of the most daring and effective resistance movements in Central Europe during World War II. Operating primarily in the rugged terrain of the Moravian Silesian Beskids, a mountain range along the Czech-Polish border, this group of partisans waged a relentless guerrilla war against the Nazi occupiers. Comprised of local Czechs, Slovaks, and Poles, as well as Allied airmen shot down over the region, the Mountainous Thieves army operated clandestinely, using the mountainous terrain to their advantage. They conducted surprise attacks on German patrols and supply convoys, sabotaged railway lines and communication networks, and provided intelligence to the Allies. One of the group's most notable activities was the rescue of Allied prisoners of war. They risked their lives to infiltrate German prison camps, overpower guards, and lead prisoners to safety through the treacherous mountain paths. These daring rescues boosted morale among Allied forces and inspired hope among the local population. Despite facing constant danger from German reprisals and betrayal by collaborators, the Mountainous Thieves army continued their resistance activities until the end of the war. Their bravery and determination earned them widespread admiration and gratitude, both during the war and in the post-war era. The story of the Mountainous Thieves army serves as a testament to the indomitable spirit of resistance against tyranny and oppression. Through their courage and sacrifice, they contributed significantly to the Allied cause and the eventual liberation of Czechoslovakia from Nazi rule. Their legacy remains a symbol of defiance and resilience in the face of adversity. The hunt for gold teeth. During World War II, the Nazi regime confiscated the gold teeth of millions of Holocaust victims, which were extracted after their deaths in concentration camps. These teeth were melted down and transformed into gold bars. After the war, the Allies conducted an investigation to recover Nazi gold and return it to the victims or their families. The systematic looting of gold from Holocaust victims was a gruesome aspect of Nazi atrocities during World War II. Upon arrival at concentration camps, prisoners were often subjected to brutal dental examinations, and any gold fillings or crowns were forcibly removed from their teeth. These gold dental items were collected and sent to refineries, where they were melted down and repurposed for the Nazi war effort. Following the defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945, Allied forces launched a comprehensive effort to locate and recover looted assets, including gold, stolen by the Nazis during the war. The pursuit of Nazi gold involved extensive investigations, interrogations, and intelligence operations to trace the flow of looted assets across Europe and beyond. One of the key objectives of the Allied investigation was to identify and seize gold reserves held by the German Reichsbank, as well as gold stolen from individuals and institutions in occupied territories. Specialized units were tasked with tracking down hidden caches of gold, often concealed in underground bunkers, secret vaults, or disguised as civilian property. The restitution of Nazi gold became a complex and protracted process, involving legal challenges, diplomatic negotiations, and bureaucratic hurdles. Efforts were made to establish restitution programs to compensate victims and their families for their losses, although the full extent of restitution remains a matter of ongoing debate and controversy. While significant amounts of Nazi gold were ultimately recovered and returned to its rightful owners, much of it remains unaccounted for to this day. The hunt for Nazi gold continues to be a subject of historical research and investigation, shedding light on the enduring legacy of Holocaust-era crimes and the ongoing quest for justice and restitution. Thank you for your attention to these remarkable historical accounts. If you enjoyed learning about these intriguing stories and want to explore more fascinating topics, consider subscribing to Curious Things. Your support means a lot to us. Additionally, if you'd like to further support our channel and help us continue bringing you engaging content, we invite you to become a member or contribute via the Join button. Every bit of support goes a long way in allowing us to create more videos and delve into even more curious topics. Once again, thank you so much for your interest and support. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.